camera.
Hello, everybody. Yes, we're back, and if you've been on at least one of these webinars this week, you should know what the next thing I'm going to tell you. Open your question box. I want to see some hellos, some heys, some how you doing. Hey, Kelly, Fred, hi again. Yep, here we go. I'm going to move this over here really quick for a minute. We've got Jonathan. Hello, Miss Dunham, Kevin. I'm recognizing a lot of these names, but there's some new ones on here. Love that, love that. We're so happy you're here with us today. We will be going into COVID-19 and in-house print, the path to recovery. We've got plenty of spaces. Nobody's going to get kicked out. Everybody's going to be able to get kicked. Everybody's going to be able to get on, enjoy it. And I'm going to turn this over right now to our good friend, the founder of SIY, Joe Morgan. Thanks so much, Joe.
Thank you so much for the kind introduction. Welcome, everybody, to our webinar. We're excited to have such a stellar panelist group to share their insights, their wisdom, their experiences, and we'll have some fun while we're doing it, too. I think we all need that break from the challenges that we're facing. So on the panel, we have 6 esteemed guests. I am going to facilitate the discussion. I'm going to introduce myself very briefly and ask them to do the same. And then we're going to follow a process. We're going to talk about some learnings that we've had during this incredible time. We're going to talk about ingenuity and innovation. And then we're going to talk about how we're going to apply those learnings and changes that we've seen into the new business environment that we see coming back from this COVID pandemic. And then toward the end, we'll have a little surprise for everybody, we hope. And the goal here is for you to walk away with really concrete things that you can do to apply within your business. One of the beautiful things of this industry is that we love to work together and collaborate and share our best practices. So you'll see some of that today from the team. So Joe Morgan, I've been in and around the industry for more time than I'd like to say, but more than a couple decades. And I ran a company by the name of Standard Register. I was CEO of that organization. So I spent a lot of time in the printing industry and transformation. And I currently have a business called SIY, which means be safe, be inspired, be you. And the mantra for our company is to create environments where dialogue leads to impact. And that's what we're trying to do today. So I'm happy to sponsor this great panel, and I look forward to having a robust dialogue with everybody where you can take away great ideas and keep the questions coming. So I'm going to bounce around a little bit so the panelists are waiting to see who I asked to introduce first because they don't know. So here we go. So I'm going to ask if Tammy, oh, by the way, 2 people will not be on video. That's not because they don't want you to see them. It's just that their video opportunity isn't there today. So we'll keep that to the side. So Tammy, quick update. Who are you and what's on your mind? And tell us something special about you.
Hi, everybody. Tammy Golden here. A lot of you know me from conference. I've been your treasurer for the last several years, and I run the print and mail operation document solutions for the state of Tennessee. We also have scanning and photography, graphic design, distribution, and graphic design. So I'm happy to be here with y'all today. We've had a lot going on, like I know all of you have, and I'm excited to hear from the other panelists as well, and just always appreciate the opportunity to share ideas with all of you, and it always makes me better at what I do from hearing from all of you. So it's good to be with you today. Thanks, Joe, for putting it together.
You're very welcome, Timmy. Thanks. John, how about you?
Hey, everybody. My name is John Cruiser. I work for Bloomberg. I am the global manager of their Bloomberg Inc. print facility. Been with the company for 28 years. I've been officially stuck in this room since March 13th, and I'm actually glad to see other faces instead of the same faces I see daily. So I'm really looking forward to hearing some other voices and instead of staring at these walls. So I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Marty, you can't see him, but how about if you give us a couple thoughts on your view and who you are and what you've been doing?
Hello, Martin James, Deer Valley Unified School District Manager of Graphic Communications. I serve one of the largest school districts in the state of Arizona, as well as over 50 external school districts throughout the state. We're a full service printing facility, print, design, mail, signage, anything you could think of. Been in the business over 30 years. So that's my story, and I'm going to stick to it.
Thank you very much. Laura, how about you?
Hi, I'm Laura Lockett. I am the Director of University Prints and Mail at California State University, Sacramento. I'm, as Tammy said, excited to be here with the panel and to learn from all of you and share some of the things that we've been doing. I have a little over 30 years in the industry, and I have met many of you at various conferences. So again, it's just a pleasure to be here, and I look forward to learning from you all.
Fantastic. Jimmy, how about you?
Hi, I'm Jimmy Weinstein. I'm the Senior Program Manager for the World Bank's operation for interactive media services and print. And I need a haircut, as you can see. You know? but we'll get to the salon very soon, hopefully. Nice to see you all.
Thanks. That's great. And Lisa, if you could bring it home here for us on this part of the dialogue.
Absolutely. Welcome, everyone. I'm Lisa Stelter, manager of the print and mail services for Sanford Health, the largest non-for-profit healthcare organization in the country. We support all of our organizations, print and mail, for our entire continuum of care from birth to end of life with our Good Samaritan Society. Happy to be here.
Fantastic. Well, I think it's obvious when you hear the backgrounds, a lot of time in the industry. So this group has an enormous perspective to share. And also we represent a lot of different industries, financial services, healthcare. We also have education and government. So there's a lot of insights here. I think what will happen is we'll start to pull common threads out of this because we're facing something that is highly unusual, at least in my lifetime. Never faced something that's affected everyone in the world simultaneously. And for me, as I talk to people all around the world each week, most conversations start with the main heading of this presentation around COVID. So let's talk about learnings first. So maybe John, you can kick this off for us. As we've entered this period of time, we've learned things about our businesses, probably about ourselves. March 13th till now is a long time to be in that room. So what are the primary things that you would say are the learnings that you're going to take forward with this experience?
So in my world, I have people in many places, around the world. I really found that, communication is the biggest thing that is what, I learned how important that is. Before this happened, we were all either in offices together and we were working together. But now when you have your team completely spread out, either working from home or one's in the office and the other one's at home, it is so easy for one little thing to be missed, and the communication takes a complete turn in the opposite direction, and you could see how that starts to rampage and the effect it has on the team. So, one of the things that we do is to do a huddle every morning. Still do this every morning, but now it's everybody's all over the place, and then you have system issues. I don't know how many times you guys got knocked out of a conference call, but it happens a lot. And so communication to me is one of the things I learned to be very patient with and understand that, if you don't know the answer, you got to continue to push until everybody completely across the team understands exactly what's going on. And don't assume that they do. Make sure you're getting confirmation they do.
Yeah, that's good. That's really, really strong guidance. Lisa, how about yourself?
Yeah, I've kind of got three main things that I wanted to speak to as learns. The first one is be indispensable and show how your services can be part of a larger initiative. As we've worked through some things of challenges of how we can support our parent organization and our company throughout COVID. Some of the things that we've done is presented the idea of creating social distance floor markers. We've created 3,300 of them to date, 25-inch and 10-inch circles. We presented the idea of we can make some, as hard as it is to say, toe tags. So we did about 12,000 toe tags. We switched to washable signs with synthetic stock so that we could quickly and easily get them done without being laminated. So those are some of the things regarding being indispensable. The second thing through this is as our volumes shifted based on the work type that we were producing, we revealed hidden strengths from our team. Some of the things that we challenged and empowered our team members to support continuous improvement efforts that truly had been put aside during our peak volumes during the normal day-to-day workings, and having the opportunity to have our teams have the time now to do that was very, very helpful. Their input and ideas for the changes encouraged their willingness to adjust workflows that folks had a cadence of doing years after years. I've got I would say a senior staff, so to speak, and when you get into that mentality of doing the same thing over and over again, change is hard. So having them be a key part of those workflow changes and process changes was very important. The third thing that I really want to speak to was having a business continuity plan. You know, what do we do if we can't print? What do we do if one of our team members gets COVID and your print shop is quarantined? So one of the things that we had been working on is consolidation. We have 2 print centers with our acquisition with the Good Samaritan Society that occurred January of 2019. And we were in the planning stages of bringing those 2 shops together into one unified group. And not having a continuity plan really supported the need at this moment to keep 2 separate locations. We had been having some great conversations with one of IPMA's good friends at PCI Group, the PCI Group team, but we've put a pause on that in the midst of this and trying to figure out as we move forward, does it make sense to have 2 locations within our organization for printing?
Really helpful. I think you heard kind of a framework that flows really nicely with the conversation we're trying to have here. Is you have to adapt your business, and there's some uniqueness, however sad that might be, within certain markets that might not apply in others, but the fact that you're able to provide solutions that are meaningful and useful in that time says a lot about your team. So kind of transitioning maybe to another market, Jimmy, maybe you can make a comment or two about your learnings in your business during this time.
Thanks, Joe. So yeah, I would think that first, it's interesting how everybody is adaptable. Like we've been living with so many historical roles, and also our staff, a lot of them are so legacy that we've been doing it this way and they will never change. And now we're all working from home, remoting in. In our case, we haven't come back too much to the office and getting ready for a few stages, being more conservative on that end. But interesting enough, and you know, I've been preaching this for a while and on all the IPMA conferences and all that, but the fact that digital media plays a ginormous role in all this, and how important it is for all of us to be ready for when time comes when we transition some of the printing that will always be needed, but the interactive media and all those tools will really be what people can actually do much easier than distributing printing papers and everything that will be able to go digital will go digital, basically, regardless if you like it or not. And we need to be ready for that. So we have expanded ginormously and with no life, basically, for the interactive media teams in terms of virtualizing all the programs and supporting our operational team, supporting our virtual events in different ways that are really much related to design and printing in a way, but we're doing it in a digital way, and I can talk to that later on. But basically, it's about change of minds. And also, sometimes we're defending our territories because it's what we've been used to. And it's important to be open-minded because if not, somebody else will do it for you, guaranteed. So.
Thank you. That's really interesting to bring up the digital transformation, migration. That's been talked about for a long time. And it seems when we have major events, there's a bit of a step function change that occurs. And so we're definitely starting to see that happen. We'll talk about something later toward the end that I'm just kind of curious, more of a personal opinion. Maybe we can do a on-demand poll of everybody on the call, but I'm just, I'm very interested in your own perspectives on this. Laura, how about you? Learnings.
Gosh, I think for us, or for me personally, one of the biggest things that's been a learning experience is we spend a lot of time with people in the office, and this crisis has touched people in vastly different ways. Some people have been relatively unimpacted personally by this. Others have, it has really, I'll be blunt, has stressed them out significantly. And so one of the things that's been important for me is to make sure that we're continuing to make the connections, especially with those that aren't in our office. John, I think you mentioned you're having the huddles. So we have a morning huddle with our print team. The majority of our mail is working in shifts, so I do get to see them on a pretty regular basis. But my mail staff, or my print staff, is part of the shop is working remotely, and production is here, but in rotating shifts. So just continuing to have those morning meetings and talking about what's going on. In addition to just taking a pulse, how are you doing? How are your ergonomics at home? Is your workspace set up so that you're comfortable? Are we working with our campus resources for ergonomics? You know, we had one person, she came and got her chair and brought it because sitting at that kitchen table isn't so comfortable when you're on week 7. So just making sure that everybody has the resources that they need to be able to keep doing their job, and to allow for flexibility, whether it's hours or technology challenges, and understanding that things may take a little bit longer, but just kind of navigating that part of it, and the human connection to that has been a big thing for us. I can't say that we weren't connected before, but it's given us a different perspective on our team members. So
I think you're really pointing out a very, very important aspect of this. I think I was talking to Tammy about this the other day, is, you know, we often talk about empathy, and I personally think empathy is one of the most challenging things to achieve, because it is really difficult to see the world through someone else's eyes. And for the first time in my career, I'm in someone's home every day. I mean, I'm actually, not in every case, but in some cases here, I'm in your home, in your office. And in John's case, I'm in the room he's been in since March 13th. And you're seeing my home in a raw form. So, you know, we get a sense of the place where people live. And we also know that our circumstance doesn't necessarily equate to everyone else that works for us or everyone else that's around our businesses. And some people have far more challenging circumstances than others. And that awareness and acknowledgement of the differences helps us, I think, as leaders. And that's been one of the big learnings for me throughout this process, where I thought I had a really good view, but actually this time has taught me many things about how people live their lives. And you can see stress in real time. You know, when you're on the same calls every day with the same people, you can kind of see it. So Tammy, your turn. You bring up you're the final person to talk on this particular topic.
Well, I certainly agree with what everybody else said. There's been lots and lots to learn over the last few months, for sure. One of the things Lisa was talking about, the scoop plan or continuity plan, and I really have thought a lot in the last few weeks about the importance and the balance of having great planning, as well as having to be agile and creative when those plans don't cover the situation, right? So, you know, our continuity plan has been a really good guide for us through this, but also it didn't cover some of the stuff. You know, we didn't expect to have staff separated like they have been. We had to, you know, have a backup plan in place in case our disaster recovery vendor wasn't able to handle our work if we needed to engage that, because even though they're several states away, and we followed all the protocol about the distance that there needs to be with your our vendor, our COOP plan didn't cover a worldwide situation. So it's having that balance of making sure you have good planning, but then also just being ready to be agile in that situation. And then another thing I've just been thinking a lot about lately is how I think sometimes, especially production people, when things are difficult and there's chaos happening or a press breaks down or whatever, we tend to look downward. I think we tend to look inward and fix the process. What's the problem? Let's fix it and get on with things. But I think this has been a really good opportunity to make sure we don't do that. In a time like this, we really need to look outward and look to our customers who are struggling themselves, and they're looking inward to figure out how they're going to get through this. And if we can sort of be that little bit of a beacon for them and a solutions provider and a help, even if it's not something that's normally in our, what we do day to day, but just being proactive in that and really looking from a external perspective towards our customers, our whole organization, and how we can help their mission. It helps ingrain us in the organization at a time like this.
Yeah, no, that's really, really helpful perspective. I want to transition actually to talking about some of these accumulated learnings and perspectives that you've got through the lens of ingenuity and innovation. But before I do that, did anybody pick up on anything through that conversation that they wanted to point out, something additive that maybe didn't get a chance to say in the beginning, but thought of?
Well, I like what Laura did, right? She talked about the people, right, and how important our team is, and keeping them motivated and understanding where they're at. I mean, if you look at how this is affecting you, and at times where, like, we had a couple times where we had, I didn't know that this person just had this, and then the fear comes in about some of your relatives who are nearby them. So just think about what they're going through every day. So the thing I think about is motivation. How do we keep them motivated? And I think Laura brought up, there's a lot of great resources that we have that work in our companies, and we should make sure that our teams are seeing those again and reintroducing them so they can stay motivated and doing online classes and pushing them to stay involved. Even operators. I mean, really, what is an operator doing on a call, right? When you're talking about the beginning of a job, well, you can get them to put their input in on, if you have a vendor doing something, how does the setup time look? Does it really look like it's going to take this much time to do stuff like that? So it's, as managers, you got to push to keep them motivated and making sure they're staying with you as a group, and even check in. Laura pointed that out. Check in. How you doing? What's going on? Show them that, you do have a heart, and how's the family? How's the kids? That's extremely important, and that's what's going to make your team even stronger.
Yeah. That's a really good summation. Any other thoughts? So
I agree.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Tammy.
I was just going to say, I agree with that. And it's, overall, we've been trying to do similar things, making individual phone calls to people when we're not together and that kind of thing. But I'm really struggling actually right now with, our performance is based on we have pay for performance now. So based on your evaluation, your raise at the end of the year is dependent upon that. And so I've got people who have knocked it out of the park, like with their service and attitudes and being on the job when other people were staying at home and things like that. And there's not going to be raises this year, because of the state budget, which, intellectually we can all understand why, but it's still hard to, communicate that to the employees and help them feel good about that.
Right, definitely. Martin, so here's a learning that I had through this period of time, is that sometimes when the video's not there, I miss something. So I think I actually missed asking you for your input on this particular topic. So would you be willing to do that? So I will fall on the sword on that one, as they say. I apologize for that. I'm in charge of this session and I screwed up already.
Not a problem at all. We had a whole set of different problems. Our problems were the overwhelming amount of work. I had nobody remote. We had a week where our company was going to figure out the protocol, and after that, it was 50 hours a week for my entire team.
Wow.
Since we service so many external clients, and they're all mostly school districts, a few associations, they're reaching out to us in the same challenges that we have at our school district. So our challenges were basically keeping up with the work demand. We, very unusual from what I hear from the industry, that we outperformed our April year to date, our May year to date. Our June is looking ahead of last year. I actually had to go home and work from home so I can focus and concentrate on some things that I needed to take care of as the manager of the department. So it was a whole set of different challenges, because we had to provide homework packets to the low-tech, no-tech students in our district and several others. Even though most of our students have a laptop or an iPad, there are students that do not have Wi-Fi access. So even if every student in our district had a device, they still some of them couldn't use it. And that was reflected throughout my customer base of school districts, that they had the same challenge. So my biggest challenges was to produce on time and to meet all of our customers' expectations and demands. For instance, I'm sure you've seen it throughout your city or states, but the yard signs for seniors that are graduating, when that momentum started, it really snowballed. We went from printing maybe 50, yard signs a month to we printed over 5,000 in 1 month. And we wanted to capture that revenue. Like somebody mentioned, if you don't provide it, somebody else will. So that the other challenge was trying to procure and secure the necessary materials. It was like trying to buy toilet paper 8 weeks ago if you're trying to buy Coroplast or H-Stakes or anything like that. So if you can find it in the marketplace, you had to buy it immediately. And then since I'm in government, you have to make sure that you're within the procurement laws as well. So those are the challenges we faced. I mean, they were challenges, but I don't think they were as difficult as a lot of people have, because we were busy the entire time producing and trying to be as agile and proactive as we could.
Yeah, I think Martin, you make a good point, because I think those that have businesses that have been really busy are facing a different set of challenges than those that have struggled. And there's a balance in both cases. And now we're starting to ramp up a little bit in some cases, and people have to kind of re-engage with that or resume work. So thank you guys very much for the answers to the learnings part. I'd like to transition, as I said, to ingenuity and innovation. And the simple definition of the differences between those two words: ingenuity would be very simply just improving something that we have historically done, and innovation would be what I would consider kind of a step function change, something new that's occurring. And so coming out of the learnings conversation, we talked a little bit about creativity. We talked a little bit about digital transformation. We talked a little bit about some new applications that maybe we did a little of, and now we do a lot of. So with that as a backdrop, and remembering that our goal, by the way, we have over 125 people on this webinar. So thank you guys for participating with us. We have an opportunity to share some of the great insight that we've learned from an ingenuity and innovation standpoint with the group, so that they can have a takeaway. So why don't we start with Jimmy? What kinds of things have you seen from a ingenuity innovation perspective that you think would be helpful?
Should I stick to the non-printing stuff, or will I get lynched by 126 people in this chat? So we do printing, by the way.
Well, I think what you should do is concentrate on the things that have the greatest impact on what you do. That's what I would do.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, for on one end, I think it has been, we haven't had much access to our facility because the majority of what the World Bank does, on our case, is either publications on their own, which are so they're basically dependent also on business and events. And then on the other side, we do a ton of events daily in our buildings and all around the world, 162 offices, and none of that was moving because the bank didn't want to risk, having anybody in our buildings that could be infected. So they basically withdrew all that, making all these events digital with, Zoom, WebEx fatigue, and all that. So, but we had our print teams basically meeting weekly, talking about projects. So we had a whole laundry list of projects for everybody to take charge, and we have seen lots of innovations and moving on that end. So that's on one side. On the other end, we had, I'm going to show my iPad since we're not sharing screen. So I hope you see it, and I'm going to put a link in the chat so you can play with this later. So this is basically our little atrium in DC, and we created a whole website basically with full 360 images, and we created a little booth that can be interactive, so I can click on anything like that. I can see these pyramids that we normally would print with white format, and if I click on any of them, they actually, there you go. So they actually open up, and you have all kinds of content that you can read and things like that. So we created basically environments that before were a big catwalk banner, and we were very proud of the colors on that. And now we actually have a video wall where you can click on different videos and now playing the same wall where printing was. So we got the people out of the WebEx or the video conferencing to play around a little bit in between sessions like this that can be tiring if you want to do a whole day or week of this. And then we also created environments with available online tools so people can do social networking. So you can see little avatars, you can get closer to people, they can have the little coffee breaks, they can have the happy hours, so we can complement on that. All that is based basically in a similar way. So we had the same files that we were using for printing, we added them into the virtual spaces. So we have our designers, our VR team now doing a lot of that. So big potential for that. And then we also deal a lot with the operational side, and that we try to help people do reports because the World Bank staff travel constantly all over the world. So now we're doing deployments of 360 cameras like this one here, and basically you take a snapshot of this, we can send it out to somebody in the field that have access to these projects, and then we have our teams do digital showcasing of these images so we can tell stories without having to travel. So we're really helping the operation here. So I don't want to extend too much on this, but basically we are rebuilding the offering, and we're going to see more of that in the future. And we don't think we're ever going to go back exactly to where we were. I think we can all agree on that. And then how can we envision that? So if you're in those positions, then there's always opportunities for growth and expansion into those areas. If your teams are ingenious enough, we don't have anybody that it's, a super expert rocket scientist. This is all technology that you have access to, and maybe not the president will do it, but if you have people with good graphic skills, you just let them go and learn, and then show you what we can do and offer to your own government office or the university, etc. So.
That's really helpful. Thank you very much for that. That's fascinating to see the transition. Maybe Laura, how about you? What are you thinking on the innovation side?
I think one of the things I was extraordinarily grateful for was a year ago we launched our web to print solution. I will tell you, we would have been lost without it at this point, because that's been the primary method for people to get us work or communicate with us. We do have some generic emails, so we're communicating that way as well, but the web to print solution has been instrumental in us moving forward. And we have been the opposite from Martin. Even though we're a university, our volume dropped drastically. Again, I've been here for over 30 years, and this was probably the lowest amount of work we've done in my memory ever. So we did have some people with some time on their hands, and we have been doing an extensive amount of training and cross-training internally where we can, but we've also been looking at our web to print solution and identifying additional products that we can build out onto that. One of the teams I have working on right now, we're building an education group. So we're going to be building a listserv email group for all of the users for our web to print solution and sending out things like tips and tricks. How did you know you can do this with your software? Did you know this is a report that you can run? Are you even aware that we produce this particular type of product? So that it's been a good way for us to take advantage of the downtime to look at how we can use that tool more effectively. I would say another thing, and I'm not sure where this falls on the ingenuity or innovation, but it was, as you might imagine, shocking for our orientation leaders. We usually have about 50 of them on campus. Orientation started yesterday, and there are usually around 8,000 students that come through in about a 6-week time period on campus and tour. And so they were forced to shift everything to virtual. There's usually a tremendous amount of printing that we do for that particular event. And the question was, what do they do with all of this content? They looked at mailing everything to everyone, these backpacks that they had, and it was going to be a significant hit to the budget, which is not something really the university can afford at this time. And so one of the proposals I made was, what if we are able to create a drive-through event? Because probably 85% of our students are local to the area. So we're in early planning stages right now to do a drive-through event where we've got the school mascot in a mask and everybody in the appropriate PPE. But just something to establish a human connection to those students. I'm sure for many of them, this is not what they expected for their college experience, their first year to be like. So just trying to find ways that we can engage with those students and make college seem more real and not just this screen they have in front of them. So
yeah, great idea. Really good ideas. Thank you, Laura. That's fantastic. Martin, how about you? What are you seeing?
Well, we're seeing that we've become experts in the signage business overnight. It was not a large portion of our revenue, which turned out to be a very large portion of our revenue over these past couple months. Finding the different substrates to print on, meeting our customers' demands. That's what we took away from this situation. But again, we were so darn busy that we were just trying to keep up with the demand. Laura, you're talking about drive-throughs. We've done that with our homework packets. You know, our students are out of school right now, but that's how we distributed our homework packets for our students that were low tech, no tech, was a drive-through. Cap and gowns, drive-through. Technology handout, drive-through. It does work.
Awesome.
So we've been through that at our district, but I guess our biggest takeaway is we totally expanded our what we offer as far as signage, floor graphics, different things like that, and they just added it to our to what we offer our clients to keep up with the demand.
Yeah, there's some interesting themes that come through that. Some of the new applications that are very specific to this situation. Some are things that we've done before, we're just doing more of it, and some of them are brand new, which is really interesting to see how that's taken over. John, how about you?
So we're still, so when you talk about video conferencing, I'm going to add a little humor to this. So this is where the humor part comes in. So you figure when you're doing a project and you're talking to your customers, you know, we do a lot of video conferencing work, and your customers are there, and you're the one holding the proof. Well, it's being the opposite way now, right? So we have some business critical, they actually have the proof, and there have been plenty of times that they're like, well, I'm trying to understand why I can't. We're like, John, you got to come down a little bit. You got to come, no, back it up a little bit, John. You know, so it's like first trying to get them organized as to exactly where the screen should be, and then working to understand when you're usually explaining the issue, because you can show them and you can tell them, but now they see something, but they don't understand our technology, right? So it comes back to communication again. I keep meaning to harp on that, but being able to utilize technology like these video conferences in a way that you can have proof sent directly to a marketing person who's sitting home in their living room, right? And it's, oh, wait a minute, the package it's the package downstairs. Can you go downstairs and get the package? It's stuff like that happens quite a bit, right? And so those are the things that, we're still working on, and, it's funny, you add a little humor to it, it sort of makes light of the situation, but these type of technology, this becomes an extremely important part, right? I am sitting in New Jersey, and Laura's in California, but we are now working and speaking together, and we're utilizing this tool. So when you see things like this, take advantage of it. Use it any way you can. I don't have my laptop in front of me anymore. Where the other day I was messing with Joe and I was spinning my computer all the way around. But those type of things, just take advantage of the opportunity of the technology you have and work to try to figure out how is it going to help your customer? Because if you can help them, your day is going to be a lot easier and you're going to get your jobs done a lot faster.
Joe, can I add something to what John said about technology?
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Unfortunately, my video is not working with this web browser, and I do a little research. I need to be on Google Chrome, not on Mozilla, so that might help. But we found another revenue resource if we are on Zoom, and I think, Joe, you saw this in our pre-meeting. We've created an opportunity to sell custom Zoom backgrounds so that when you're in meetings, you can brand your company, your university, your school district, and then you also don't have to worry about what's behind you when you're on video conferencing. It is a custom background that takes everything out but you and your branding.
It's what's sort of happened in this conversation. I know, Tammy, I haven't forgotten about you, I promise, is a lot of the conversation has been about the user or the consumer of our stuff. And a lot of times in printing discussions, we talk about the physical things that we do. And it's what's been kind of interesting in this dialogue is the vast majority of the conversation has been not about that. It's been about the experience that our users have with us, whether it be a drive-through or I really would like to demonstrate my beliefs or what I love to do by a background, which I think is fabulous, or create a digital experience that's not unlike what I might experience physically if I were able to go to the location that I normally did. And I think that's a big shift for us to really think more and more about the consumer of what we do. And I think that's the actual path to not making the conversation just about printing. Printing may be a part of that or may not be a part, but it's a service that we provide that adds value to the ultimate user. And I would imagine in all of our businesses, the consumer and the person that works for us is going to have quite a bit of different experience coming back to work than they did ever in their life. This isn't they didn't go away for vacation. They're coming back with a whole lot of other experiences that they never expected to ever have, with also the fear of not knowing if they're going to be back into this circumstance again. So we have to kind of keep that in the back of our mind. So with all of that, Tammy, we're ending this segment with you, and then we'll jump into recommendation. Applying. Oh, I forgot. I did. I forgot Lisa. Sorry. Gosh, I did it again. So there's a systemic issue. I would rather have forgotten my video than to forget people on this call. So I apologize for that. So Tammy, you're up.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to make a comment about what several of you said, John especially, about using the teleconferencing and that kind of thing. Some of the things that we've adapted because we had to through this, we're realizing might be good things to keep going forward. We have a meeting, usually quarterly, called Customer Connect, where we would have our customers come, and it might be training or just informational marketing, different subject every time, mostly driven by them and their, the feedback we get on surveys. usually when we do those, we'd have 40-ish number of people have it in a big conference room at work, of course. So can't do the in-person meetings anymore. So we did the a WebEx similar to this, and had around 200 people. And I'm realizing, and just like this with IPMA, if we were at IPMA conference, we would have maybe 30, 40 people in a session like this, and we're able to get, so many more. And I don't know if it's because a lot of people are working at home and they're able to be engaged, or it's just easier to not have to leave your office and go to an in-person meeting. Obviously, there's a lot of value in being in person when you can, but there's also, great benefit to being able to reach a wider audience. So we're kind of embracing that and thinking maybe even when this is over, we should mix it up some and do some of both. So, and then just a very low-tech bit of ingenuity that we've taken on is because we deliver mail to all the within our county state office buildings, and suddenly people weren't going to be in their offices anymore, and we were told to limit the number of people in each building. So we had to figure out how we were going to get people their mail because they still had to do their work. So we just set up a very similar to, I guess we kind of stole the idea from the restaurants in town that have had to do creative ways when people couldn't come in the dining room, and we set up a curbside pickup, and people would we have certain times, certain pickup times, and they can come and just pull up to the curb, touch-free environment where we can just put it in their trunk for them and send them on their way. So that's worked out pretty well.
That's great. Fantastic. But I think, Tammy, what you just pointed out too is there's no reason that all the ideas have to come from us. We can look and observe other businesses and see how they're doing things, and take them, bring them into what we're trying to achieve here. I think that's a great idea. Lisa, how about you? Let's let you, I apologize, we'll have a double finish on this.
That's okay. So I took a different approach in my response to this question.
Yeah.
Our operations hasn't stopped. We have had a shift of work going to our large format, kind of similar to Martin's situation. So we've done a split shift, and with the ability to keep that machine running a lot longer than normal. So it's opened up some capacity in our print shop as elective procedures and such have been put on pause for public because of COVID. Our print volume is down just a smidge. So that gave us the opportunity to kind of look within and find some process improvements and ways that we could be doing our work better. One of the things that we did is we did a time study on some of our problem papers that we were having constant jamming, whether it be through our I300, iGen, or our inserting machine collators, et cetera, and did some trial and error with some different paper stocks. And we were able to fine tune some envelopes that we were struggling with, and some different papers. So in all efforts of receiving cheaper pricing for volume discount purchasing, and then improving our productivity, ultimately doing more with less. That's truly our goal. And then the only other thing that I think I wanted to mention here is we're working on combining 2 different web to print type solutions into one tool. We've got 2 tools right now, and are they the best? Are they working? Yes. As our organization continues to grow, we just want to find that solution that's sustainable and that can grow with us. So it's given us the opportunity to spend some time with some fantastic tools out there, doing demos, et cetera. And we're happy that we've narrowed that selection down to, I believe, the choice that we're going to go with. So being able to spend time with that, and then over the coming months work on planning and implementation of that tool as well.
That's great. Yeah, on the process side, there's so much room for improvement, and sometimes when we're in the middle of norm, we just don't pay attention to it. So I think it's fantastic. You'll come out stronger. So kind of leading into the next part of the conversation. So with the learnings and the ingenuity, what are you going to do differently? What do you think you'll apply to your business that you wouldn't have otherwise done, or at least in the time frame you're now going to do it? What are some of the things that you might do differently? Maybe we can make this a bit of an open dialogue. We can kind of build off of each other. Maybe John, you could kick it off with your view.
Yeah, so I'm looking at shipping, right? I don't know about any of you, but the stuff that they say is supposed to get here on time has never got here on time with me, right? And my thought is how we actually pack things and actually secure the items. So if they can't deliver me a case of water without destroying it, as many times as I've got a case of water delivered to my house, which is about the weight of a normal print job when you're doing a large print job, I have a feeling that we really need to beef up our I guess the materials that we use to pack our material, especially if I'm going overseas. But if you think about the domestic shipments and everything that people are sending to their houses now, and there's a lot more people, getting food sent to their house, a lot more people shopping online. I don't think that's going to change. I think that's going to be, as soon as August comes around, people are going to start doing Christmas shopping, and they're going to do a lot of that. So I think the shipping industry, this is just me, this is my feeling, I just feel the shipping industry wasn't prepared for this. I think the overnight sure will take care of it. Ain't going to happen. They're going to promise you overnight, and you're going to get it 3 to 5 days later. So you have to, one, make sure your customer's aware of this. Make sure that your team that's producing it and packing it is aware that you got to protect it, and treat it as if it's your child, and you got to do everything you can to protect it so it can handle the shipment. So to me, shipping is going to be something I really need to look at, because I really have some serious concerns about all the hard work that your team puts into things, and then finding out that, half of it or 2 boxes got destroyed, and now you're back on press again to try to get something taken care of.
Yeah, I think we've all, probably everyone in this call, has everybody experienced some disruption in their shipping? Yeah, I have. And the other part of that too is it's hard to get somebody to make, if you're not doing it yourself and you're outsourcing it, for example, it's really hard to get that second order done if it gets lost. So I think that created some other challenges for us as well. Tammy, how about you?
Similar things. One of the things that we're just, again, trying to help agencies with is just how do they rethink their business as they're having more people work from home, because we've had a lot of state agencies say, you know what, we just found out that this works just fine and we don't ever have to come back. So how do we assist them when they need to print and mail some letters from home? They can't just print it on their office copier and stick it in the messenger mailbox, right? Their customers, the citizens of the state that maybe in the past wanted hard copies of a piece of paper in the mail for their benefits information and that kind of thing, but now suddenly they don't want to have to go out to the mailbox and touch that mail, so they are more open to digital transmission of their communications and those kinds of things. So we're working hard to develop that capability. We're doing mail scanning for some people, so they don't even want the curbside pickup. They don't even want to have to come all the way to town to do that. So why not just scan the mail and send it to them digitally, or even scan into their system, depending on what kind of thing it is. So, so we're doing a lot around just that whole sort of the incoming mail piece, and helping assist agencies be able to do their work remotely.
So the customer experience, they're changing how they're doing their work, which means we have to adapt to how we deliver any services to them. Jimmy, how does that fit into what you were saying before, and maybe how you're looking at your business differently?
Well, on one end, I think that we had to push back a little bit on clients when they asked us to come in and print for them at the beginning, when we weren't even able to access, since we weren't really doing, really life and death situation printing, so to speak. And in a way, we kind of educated them as well on do you really need to print this, or can you do it digitally, or can you wait until all this is done? And at the same time, they found a way at the end. Nobody died if we didn't print a piece of paper, which prompts us to think about that as well. And how do we get to more innovation, I guess? How to continue to be relevant, because next time, if we're back at the office, which we will, but now it's a hassle to go into the building or if we need to ship to their houses. So I don't want it. On the other side, I think that we have 120 people here, and I think, I don't want any clients to hear us, but maybe we should all unite against proofing. How about that? And then we can actually, so we can actually, ban proofing, right? Because it doesn't make any sense, right? And we go with digital proofing if they want it, right? Or you can tell us, to trust us. They should with their colors and printing. But kidding aside, and not really, we've been testing a few digital proofing tools because just coming in to pick up their proofs and then give you the approvals, and then actually, like you said, John, discussing the color, and if you're not face to face, the color will never show in the webcam. But the content proofing especially and things like that, that's important to have the tools available. We're gonna see much more on the workflow on the print side, I would think. So I welcome any vendor that is looking here into our conference to provide those tools to us, right? And find ways to, but maybe if we all get together and say, hey, no more proofing, we all decided, right? Maybe we can get rid of that and then be all digital in the future. So how about that?
Now my customers are going to say, who's this Jimmy guy that says there's no proofing?
Yeah. Well, we have you recorded, so you'll be in infamy here. We'll always be able to reference this hour we've had together. Laura, how about you?
Golly. I think mail has seen one of the biggest changes for us. We're so used to going out and delivering mail to departments. It's still a little bit of an unknown. We are virtual through December. So it's going to be a while before we're on the other end of this. So we are continuing to be open. Departments are scheduling appointments and coming in. We package all of their mail in a plastic bag so that it's contained and it's a one single use rather than the mail bags that we used to use previously. So trying to identify, will we have a hybrid of that moving forward? Will we continue with the pickup rather than the delivery? And if so, what does that do to my staffing? So it's using technology has been great. I think as my team, there's a certain level of leave time that they've been allowed, and that's going to exhaust. And so we are going to be back in the same space. And so continuing to use the Zoom technology, even though we're sitting 15, 20 feet from each other, in order to continue to keep each other safe, it's just kind of shifting your mindset and wanting to make sure that you can stay in that space and not fall back to the comfort of, hey, just come in my office and sit down. So really trying to continue to be cognizant of keeping the staff safe, but also how do we engage with our customers in a way that's personable, but also safe. So that's one of the things we're working on.
Thank you for making that very comfortable for people to think through, because it's so important to have that kind of balanced view. And I think to your point right at the beginning of it is when you have to look all the way to December, that's a long time to have to navigate through all of that. So thanks for sharing that. Martin, how about you?
Well, I think the biggest change is going to be the way I market, because one of the things I do to bring external revenue is one-on-one meetings and actually having a booth at different conferences. Similar to when we go to IPMA and there are vendors and booths, I'd use that same concept with the associations to get to my customer in a more direct way in one spot. So I will be using Zoom a lot more in our marketing approach. That's going to be the biggest change. John, I certainly feel your pain with shipping. Not only are timelines off, in the beginning, my shipping and receiving department was closed. So I was shipping things to my home or else will calling everything around town, picking it up. So that did present a challenge. And one good thing has always worked for me in my career is under promise and over deliver. So I think we're all going to have to do that when we have shipping involved.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention, a lot of stuff people are recommending that when a shipment arrives, that you let it sit for 24 to 48 hours. So one of the things that I'm looking at is an ultraviolet booth that you can put a skid in, and within 25, 30 minutes, you can get to the product you need. So if you have that, so that's one of the things we're looking at as to, you know, I don't want to stick everything in it and make it part of the problem, but when you do have a rush, I believe wide format supplies are going to be really hard to come by. So when they do show up, you need them right away. You want to be able to get to that. And I think if you look at an ultraviolet booth, you might be able to do that, put stuff in 35, 40 minutes later, get it out and be able to use it.
That's great.
So Lisa, how about you?
Yeah, so our team, like I said earlier, we never stopped working because we're considered essential workers. So some of the changes that we have already applied were really some safety measures because we were all still in the office. We're a close-knit group, even though we've got our space to move around here. So some of the things that we did is we staggered our shifts, so not all the team members were working at the same time, limiting potential exposure. We've put in place a process for wash in, wash out. If you go out the door into the common area or the hallway to use the restroom, you wash out and you wash back in. We've obviously hygiene is key, right? So we've put cleaning and sanitizing supplies located throughout our print shop for quick access. And this also serves as a reminder to clean often. Most supplies like this are truly out of sight, out of mind, and making them visible serves as a good reminder for people to clean their workspaces daily. Yeah, we also are eating our lunches on the production floor. I'm encouraging that so that we stay away from other folks in the building. Our building has approximately 600 people. The front of our building is a clinic. So we're trying to, obviously distance ourselves. And as you all know, it's hard to find good talent in our industry. So we just want to maintain and keep our people safe that we do have. And those are the changes that we've implemented since the start of this back in March.
Thank you for, it was good to now go to the kind of the final kind of third of this conversation, which really is around the people. And what I'd like to do now is maybe we've got a couple thoughts here. One is around things that really surprised you on the people side when this all happened, and we're still navigating through it. And then also, what was the personal impact on you? If you could bring this to not talking about everyone else, but something that really has affected you through this whole circumstance. I found that those are the things that really humanize us as leaders. And as part of that, a couple of questions came in, and I think they were really good ones, is how do you balance the hopefulness with the reality that people face as a leader? There's some requests for commentary on that. And then at the other hand, there are people that are afraid too. And how are you thinking about that as a leader? So there's a lot in there, but I think there's a narrative that you can each kind of share with people in the middle, is talk a little bit about surprise affected you, how you're balancing reality with being hopeful and driving your businesses, and then also helping people in your organization that might be a little nervous and fearful, and maybe even had, God forbid, a really horrible thing that might have happened to them throughout this process. So maybe we can just start with a little bit of that dialogue. Maybe John, if you wouldn't mind kicking us off there.
Sure. So as far as people goes, everybody on this call is going to say what an incredible team they have, right? I have one individual who's in Tokyo, a young guy, and his heart is just unbelievable. I don't know if any of you have ever seen images of what it's like to commute in Tokyo and get on a train and have to deal with the people they deal with, but he does it and works really, he's got strength like I've never seen. He's just impresses me. I would not get on a train that looked like that. I mean, I've commuted into New York a million times. I've taken the subway. I've dealing with a lot of crazy people. But to have to do that every day, where you physically have somebody literally almost cheek to cheek with you, or literally their chin is on the back of your neck, it's unbelievable. And the strength that he has, I admire it, right? And what did I do? Some of the things as a manager, you say, geez, it scares me. I'm the one that was scared, not him, right? What can I do? Can I get a car for you? How about if we start paying for taxis going into work? How about if we start doing, instead of coming in during rush hour, everybody else is, do you want to do an early shift and come in at 6 or 5 and let you go at 2 or 3? Or maybe you come in at 10 because a lot of people aren't like me, get up crazy early in the morning. They would rather sleep in. So those are the type of options. And yes, he did take us up on some of those things. Unfortunately, there was a spike back in Tokyo again, and now he's home. We're hopefully that will decrease, and we'll be able to get him back in the office again soon. On a personal note, on my side of the fence, so my wife is a nurse, but she's more on the admin side. So when this first hit, she got called back into duty, but she wasn't dealing with patients. She had to check the the employees coming in every day. So she had to screen employees, nurses and doctors and so forth as they came into the office. And we had a plan. The plan is that if there was something where she got, there was a contamination or she got too close to somebody, it happened, and the hospital sent her home. And I don't know, for those of you who've been married for a long time, but locking your wife up in her bedroom for a very long time does not go over very well. Let me just tell you that right now. And I don't like being the doorman, carrying food to the door and, taking care of everything. So fortunately, everything went really well. She didn't catch anything. We did the quarantine thing, and everything's great. We've learned a lot about, the importance of our roles in our household, and, the importance of having a plan. I think that is extremely important. Now, I have a son from my first marriage, and I hadn't seen him, and because of that, I hadn't seen him for a very long time. And I actually had a great opportunity last weekend to actually hug him for the first time since March, and that was a lot, and that meant a lot to me. So, those type of things, you see how the strength that you have in some team members, and then, how it affects you personally. And then what you try to do to survive. And I think that we all have strength, inner strength, but it's how you lean on each other to make it one solid strength instead of having weaknesses with each other. You got to help each other out. And whether it's family or if it's business, you always got to do the right thing.
Yep. Well, that's a hard one to follow. So,
Sorry.
Lisa, how about you? What's your on the people side? You've shared some of those things throughout, but surprise, something from your own personal view and leading people that are really challenging, being challenged during this time.
I'm sorry, was that to me?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. I touched in the beginning on the people, and for me, it's funny. One of our leadership professional development person does this thing called True Colors, and we go through this. It's kind of like a Myers-Briggs thing, and she identifies and she says, I'm a gold blue, which means I like to follow the rules, but I like to stay connected to the people. And again, just doing your best to understand where people are, and stay connected to them. I have one person from the very beginning who is in a role that can telework fairly easily. She does not want to be at home. She wants to be here on the front lines. What can I do? And we've had a couple of things being at fiscal year end where I've been able to bring her back. I'm now working on what we're calling our phase 2 kind of re-entry plan to see if I can have her back. Honestly, I'm the front line, and there are days where I've got some other stuff I need to do and not be helping anybody that does walk in our front door, or vendors that are delivering things. So it's been awesome to see how people adapt to this and what they're willing, how they step out of their comfort zone, or how they ask for help and what you can do to assist them. As far as me personally, I have been really blessed to work for this division for such a long time that even though our upper management has changed, one thing that has been consistent has been professional development and communication and support. And so we have management council meetings. They've been monthly, where we get together and we do have 50 faces on the screen, and everybody's scrolling through and we're talking about different things. So our vice president is doing his absolute best to keep in touch with us and let us know what's changing. every week, if not sooner, depending on what's going on. A lot of what we're doing is dependent upon the state of California budget, which we still don't have yet. So there's a lot going on there. But I am super blessed to have a great support system at home with a husband. I have an adult son who still lives with us. But we've been used to doing family dinner at our house every week, and we had not done that for quite some time. But we would do Zoom family dinners and get to see my grandkids and stuff. So just making sure that you're still making those connections, because you do need the downtime. It's okay to step back for a minute.
Yep. No, I agree. I agree with all that for sure. Lisa, how about you? Thank you.
Certainly. So to try and be as brief as possible. Employees are our biggest asset, and we want to make sure that they knew that they have the full support of our organization through these trying times. So our leadership got together and gave all of our employees a $300 bonus across our entire enterprise. They also gave us 3 months free of health insurance. And you think about the monetary impact of that gesture for all of our staff and our team members was just tremendous. And the overwhelming blessings and graceful words that we received for that was just tremendous. And it just shows the value that we have in our employees. And we want to make sure that they're healthy and that they're safe and they're able to come to work and support the healthcare industry in whatever area we do. Whether it be printing or supply chain, or if you're helping people with their bills, or if you're on the front lines of healthcare. So that was one of the biggest things that we did for our people and for our staff. I'd be remiss not to mention some of the things that I used as resources to kind of help me through this process. The USPS PCC group, I'm a board member on our local PCC, and we had some fantastic webinars that we shared with some groups in our industry. Also, the Minnesota PCC had some fantastic groups as well. The Mindfire webinars and COVID group on LinkedIn were one of the resources I used. And then also, last but not least, our IPMA group forum has just been tremendous. So if you haven't had an opportunity to go on there and engage in that conversation, please do. It's a great resource and tool for us industry experts to keep connected. Me personally, I'm a mother of 2 small children. I have an 11-year-old and a 7-year-old. So when school closed their doors back in March, I became a stay-at-home mom, a teacher, and a full-time employee. So I definitely had some challenges with wearing many hats. I had to learn how to solve math problems all over again. Right alongside my 11-year-old. So I would say having the great leaders in place that I do at our 2 facilities was key in the success of helping us move forward through the past 3 months and then for future state here. So I commend, as y'all have said, commend our teams for everything that they've done and their dedication to the work that we do.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think the recognition and translating the words into actions really important. That will have a long-lasting impact on the families during this time as well. Jimmy, how about you? What are the things that surprised you, and how, from a personal standpoint, maybe make a comment, and then leading through adversity as we're facing. Any tips?
Yeah, well, but talking about those, proofs again. No, just kidding. I just want to say, I mean, we're
passionate about proofs. We got that.
Thank you. And then, no, I would say, like John, I mean, we can all talk for hours about our staff and how resilient they are. I love seeing them learning, I think, now that we're all remoting in and spending more time with learning tools and seeing them doing pivot tables, a pressman or somebody that is used to working with their hands. And it's opening, their minds as well a little bit more, and maybe pushing them for progress and future opportunities, I guess, and growth. So that has been excellent. Also, being the World Bank, we also take a lot of this for granted, and we're all worrying about picking up our supplies and mailing and things like that. And the fact of the matter is that as we're singing Happy Birthday while we're cleaning our hands, there's billions of people with no access to clean water and sanitation around the world. So we're trying to connect with those facts, or the fact that now there's a low-cost pandemic in a way, or in countries in Africa. So there's really big problems in that, and not everybody has access to the facilities that we have. And so putting all that into perspective in a way, and then understanding for our staff that we don't have to sacrifice our lives. So somebody would have a brochure printed or a poster delivered if you feel exposed. So kind of balancing that and then learning from it for the next stage as we continue to grow. And and we can talk more about digital in a separate session, but potentially we also feel the weight in our shoulders that now it's time to act and get more digital products, and the responsibility, because otherwise our organization will stay behind, and also the risk of somebody else taking that away from us and affecting some of the printing products that we could have been transitioning as well. It's so hard to let go on some of that and pushing print just because of print. But we're also trying to grow in parallel on that, and there's some madness to that strategy. Personally, I love working from home, by the way. I mean, I think that I realized that, and all this mad travel, and I don't miss the DC commute at all. And I love having lunch with my kids and playing 15-minute soccer games with my 6-year-old in between meetings. So there's something to it as well that I think we can all relate to, and hopefully we can keep it going and slow down. It's funny when you walk around the first few weeks of the quarantine and see all these people walking in family groups. We never had a chance to do that, and we're all these activities over the weekend and pickups, and all the kids with their own friends, and now we're all together. So I think as a society we may see a change as well. So.
Yeah, well, thank you. That I agree with what you're saying. It is incredibly personal, and the changes will forever affect us. I hope. That's a choice, I suppose. Martin, how about you?
Well, I'd have to say one of our biggest challenges is morale. When we're on the front lines and the entire team is working 50 hours a week and the entire building is empty, that was a bit challenging. And being in government, I can't, we can't incentivize them monetarily. That is against the rules. So I say that was the biggest challenge takeaway. I'm going to say it. I have a great team. They plowed through it, did a great job. But I think that was the biggest challenge of, in a company my size with 4,000 employees, maybe 1% actually being physically on site. It was a bit difficult to overcome, but because of my great team, we did overcome that. Personally, at my age, you could probably tell I'm not 20 by the number of years I have in this business. At one point, I worked 47 out of 48 days in a row, and that was a personal toll that was tough. Never thought I would be saying that at this stage of my career, but it's something we had to do to take care of our clients, keep our department running, and lead by example. It's hard for me to tell a team to go in and produce and stay at home and direct it. So I was in as much as possible. The only time I was not there was when to get some time to work and not have a lot of interruptions, and they understood that.
Well, yeah, that 47 out of 48, that's a tough slog. I don't care what age you are. So congratulations for focusing on the customer and all the work you needed to do in your team. But I hope you got some rest at the end of that. I hope this isn't day 49. I hope you've had a little bit of a break.
I have, thank goodness I have.
Very important. Tammy, we're both in Tennessee. We're both in Nashville in different places, but not too far away from each other. But this is the only way we've connected in the last 4 months.
For sure. I'm one of the comments that you said, somebody had typed in about how do we balance being hopeful with the reality of the situation. And I've been really struck by that during this because for one thing, in this situation, even the reality has been hard to navigate because, you know, we've heard different things at different times. It's going to be awful. It's not going to be so bad. You got to wear a mask. You shouldn't wear a mask. You know, gloves. There's been conflicting information that we've gotten as part of the reality. So I think it's important, as I know some of you have said as well, just for every employee, their situation is different, and just acknowledging that if they're mad about it or scared about it or feel like it's no big deal, that's okay, because that's, you know, that's what it is for them. And trying not to, you know, buy into all the different hype in different directions, and just kind of stay the course. We're here to support the citizens of our state and make sure that that we're providing the things that they need in this such a crucial time. And you know, that's where our focus is, and that's what we've tried to do. As far as me personally, the thing that has just struck me so much during all this is just a deeper sense of gratitude for so much. You know, on March 3rd, Nashville had a big tornado. The church that I've gone to for the last 30-some years was destroyed in that tornado. Which, if you're going to have your church destroyed, it's a good time because we couldn't be meeting anyway. So it's okay. But you know, you just, I'm grateful that this wasn't 10 years ago before Amazon and Netflix and Zoom. You know, I'm grateful for my amazing staff. I'm grateful that, you know, I appreciate hugs more and all those things. I certainly am missing being at conference with all of you this week, where we would be, you know, talking about going to the hospitality room tonight and hanging out, and you know, but I'm grateful that we can connect in this way, and we still have the community in so many other ways that we can, you know, share things with each other and lift each other up, which is what I look for from this group. So, so that being said, I think just, you know, I'm just more grateful than I've ever been, probably.
Well, I really want to thank all of you guys for the whole perspective that you've provided, from learnings and new ideas, ingenuity and innovation, and of course the personal touch. I wanted, because I'm here too, I thought I would share my own view on this as well. One of the things that surprised me the most, and I've done a lot of global business in my life, is this is probably the first time that I've seen the entire industry affected in roughly the same way on a global basis, with almost no exception. And I haven't talked to anybody over the last 120 days that doesn't kind of define the buckets of their business that are doing well, or maybe not totally affected, and then some totally devastated. And even some of the ideas that have been mentioned here are happening in other places around the world, culturally, maybe a little different. But it's been fascinating to me to see how ubiquitous the impact has been and how people are responding. I think human beings are resilient if given the chance. That's one. The other surprise to me is that sometimes people forget about the fact that our conversation may not be the same as everyone else because our circumstances are different. And I've seen over the last third of this 4 months that I've been in this, people starting to recognize those differences, which I think is helpful, because as we know in the printing industry, you know, a lot of our employees don't have the luxury of having 3 bedrooms in their house where they can go to for these meetings. They have a small place, and it's really difficult to do a lot of the things that we're describing. So that was kind of very interesting to me from a business standpoint. On a personal level, some interesting things happened. So we had a grandson, first grandson, in December. Seen him 3 times, and I've seen him evolve and grow for him physically. So my wife and I are now quarantining, and we're going to go make that happen. We're going to do a point-to-point drive and go see our grandbaby and our son too, and our daughter-in-law. So that's kind of really important. And The other thing that I also discovered is that I've traveled so much in my life, ridiculous amounts, probably 60%, 70% sometimes. And I actually really enjoy this time. I've enjoyed spending time with my wife. We had our 37th anniversary during this period, which is pretty cool. I'm very lucky and blessed. And we've had really good experiences together. I'm back home. I had moved out to another office, but now I'm back in the house and I'm excited about it. You know, I can't remember a time when we had 3 meals together. And so that's been a really wonderful circumstance for us. We have a daughter that lives in Manhattan, and that's been scary on many levels, COVID being one. But, you know, she's doing okay too, but she's had to deal with, you know, very challenging time. So it affects us in many, many ways. I love the fact that you made it personal. I love the fact that we have such great talent in this industry, which is so important in the communications across all of the businesses we're in. I love the fact that you've given a bit of your heart to each of your employees and you care so much about them. And I know when we go back, we will have a different industry. There is no question about that. But I think it's one that will be led through to the next place by this team and others. So thank you all for that. The beauty of having a video conference is that most of us have our face on the screen. And so one of the things I asked everybody to do is to make a small poster, I'll call it a poster, that kind of defines one thing that they'd like you to take away from this conference call, or this video conference call. And I have Lisa's because her camera's not working. So on the count of 3, I'm going to ask everybody if they could stick it on the screen, and we're going to give it a shot. Martin, I know you're unable to do it, but that's okay. We'll make up for it later. 1, 2, 3. Just realize that I can't see what they all say, so I hope that the people that are on the call are getting benefit from this. So, Greta, thank you guys for being with us today. I'm really looking forward to being together in person soon. Please be safe. Take care of your families and your teams. Let's hope we all get to do great work together in the future. And I really am so honored to have had this great opportunity to spend the last hour or so with you guys. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
Very
Panel,
welcome.
or John, Jimmy, Lisa, Martin, even though I can't see you. One of the things that was shared with me that kind of just made me stop and think, because, you know, when this whole thing first started, it's like, oh, we're all on the same boat. We're all in the same boat. And then somebody says, no, we're not. We're all in the same storm, but we're not all in the same boat. Our boats are different. You know, you have, some of us are on, carriers, Air Force carriers. Some of us are on mega yachts. Some of us are in an inner tube. So, and I think we need especially understand that difference in, I struggled, my mother's 92 and my sons are 30, 30s. And they're like, you need to stay home. You need to stay home. I'm like, no, I do not need to stay home. You got a long life ahead of you. You got 90 years ahead of you, I hope. I don't. My mom doesn't. Leave us alone. We'll be careful, but we don't need to stay home. And I think that a lot of people don't understand that you can't go out, you can't have fun, and you can't be safe. Do a Scooby. Okay? Thank you guys so much. I am grateful too. I've just been so blessed to be able to work through this, and my family too. It's been nonstop. And Jimmy, I hate working from home, okay? I hate it. I told my husband, darling, you're like cheesecake. A little bit is good, but I can't eat the whole cake, okay? And it's just too rich for me. So I was really happy when I could come back into the office a month ago. So thank you guys. I want to remind everybody that we do have our IPMA Webinar series continues tomorrow at 9 o'clock. I highly encourage you to register to attend the Story of Hope and Redemption. John D. Johnson he took a leap of faith, took a step, hired this. His name is Talman Hayes. I had the honor and privilege of meeting him. He went through the Pride program through the state of Florida. He is now the lead pressman at Palm Beach County, Florida. It's just a very inspiring story. That starts at 10 Central, and then at 2, our very own Martin James, who's with us today, is maximize what revenue insourcing be an asset, not a liability. We just thank everyone so much. We love you all, and Des Moines, woohoo! We'll see you later.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.